Hi, my name is Mark Sipthorpe and I'm with Pogo Pro. About a month ago, I started shuffle dancing and I had no place to dance, so I built this landing. Oh yeah! So this video walks you through the steps required to build or transform the original landing to this piece of art. Super happy about the results and basically plan on walking you through the project all the way from changing the grade on the walkway, using simple car jacks and a shovel, to fixing the foundation crack that went all the way from the mount of the upper landing all the way to the footing of the foundation. This was a big job. I used rubber membrane, special cement for adhering the membrane to the wall, and roofing tar to make a seal. I had to do the work at night because after I'd done the actual hole, I learned there was a storm coming, so I actually needed to work quickly to avoid the hole filling up with water. That would have been a real pain and slowed the job down by a day or two, and water might have even leaked in the house if that had happened. So once that was done, I moved to the next task, which was to repair this frame, which was clearly rotten in most parts, but there was a lot of salvageable metal towards the foundation of the house, and so I was able to cut away that and then add new anchor bolts because the old ones were all rotten as well. So basically I used a grinder, a welder, and a lot of perseverance to get rid of the old rotten metal, and added new metal after I cleaned it up, of course, using the grinder. So this is just a 1x1 metal bar. I leveled it, prepared the surface to be welded, and used a MIG welder to that. Basically, just a Canadian Tire MIG welder to actually make the welds. The whole frame took about 3 hours to complete, and that includes the additional wall mount that I'm putting on here. I put this on to add additional support to the frame, and I'm pretty happy with how strong it is in the end. Here I'm adding or drilling the holes for the wall anchoring for the joist support, or the joist hangers will be mounted on a 2x6 board. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix the Quikrete anchoring cement and put some bolts in the wall.
I just want to bounce.
Anchoring cement to basically cement the bolts into the wall. You can see I'm working on the last ones. I wasn't too happy about the length of the bolts on the first ones. I ended up having to drill a little bit of the wood out so that the bolts would go in. So I made 2 new anchoring bolts, and as you see that by that clip, they look pretty solid. Don't forget, by the way, to seal all the cut ends of the wood you're working with, otherwise it's going to rot. So I'm now leveling the joists, and I will then anchor them with joist hangers once they've been leveled with the frame. Each joist hanger takes about 5 to 10 minutes to install. There's 10 screws on either side. You don't have to watch this whole section. Basically, I'm showing you what's involved in adding a joist adding a joist hanger to support the joist, and then I'm going to time lapse it through, so you can just skip to the next section. You won't be missing much. Now ready to, well, the job's complete, so I'm now ready to add moisture barriers or protection for the wood. This will keep the rain from rotting the wood, and after that you can start putting the decking boards in place. These are held in place by special clips. They can be bought at most hardware stores, Home Depot, Reno Depot, Rona. They all sell these products. The last one is a decking edge, which I had special clips for. This was a little more tricky to install, but as you can see, the result is pretty awesome. Very happy with the way it looks. Here I'm actually adding the anchor bolts for the lower decking, and I'm leveling it, and these are going to be attached to the anchoring board once I have it all leveled. The important thing here was to level it, but also make sure that it fits underneath the landing so that I can easily install the decking boards. So that's what I'm doing here, just making sure there's enough room. There you go. Things are looking good. I just want to show you how the anchoring board looks with the bolts in it. So I'm putting a middle joist support in because theoretically you're supposed to put joist supports every 4 feet. So I put one in the middle, and here I have now placed all the joists where I want them, and I'm just basically sealing the actual joist braces with the sealant.
Tonight we rock stars.
I'm now finishing the last brace, or the second to last brace. After this, I'm ready to put the decking boards in place. And again, I'm using the special clips, but on this one I mounted it flush with the facade because I wasn't too happy with the upper deck, the way it basically went over the edge, and they're really not easy to cut, these boards, so that's why I'm doing it a little differently on this pass. And basically the decking boards are just mounted with a simple little clip that can be drilled in. Jeez, I'm a fast worker. Look at this. So I fast forwarded to the last decking boards and did a close-up just so you can see how I used a pry bar to make it easier to put the decking boards in place. Because what I found was that when you're putting them in place, you'd be banging one side and the other side would be coming loose. So a combination of the pry bar and stepping on it kept the boards in place and allowed me to move quicker. I made an improvised chalk line to cut the edge of the decking board so that they all be the same length. And once these are cut, there's little basically covers that go on each decking board. They're about 50 cents each and easy to install. Basically you can use your hand, and some of them that are a little stickier, you just use a rubber mallet. Getting the first cut set was the tricky part, but once that was done, it was very easy to cut these decking boards. You do not need a second hand, unlike wooden decking boards where you do, because wooden decking boards, when they break off like this, they actually tend to basically splinter. So this way, with these decking boards, they just dropped off with one clean cut. Here we go, last two. And now you can see this lower landing looks great. The upper landing is also awesome. So on to the next step, which is basically, as I said before, the upper edge or decking board edge was hanging over too much. So I put a facade which I glued in. So this is the last step of the project, basically installing the benches. Very easy to do. They basically have 5 bolts that bolt directly into the deck. It's actually easier to install these benches than it would be to install posts or railings. And this is the last bench, and once I've got this done, you'll be able to see the final result. My drill packed in, so the last few screws I had to put in by hand. It was not very difficult.
Fly like lightning, don't go travel at light speed. Intergalactically, go battling gravity. I moonwalk so casually, backwards through the galaxy.
It helps to have clamps when you're doing this because the backrest and the boards on the seating part are they move around quite a bit if they're not clamped down. So here you have it, the final product. Super happy with this landing. Once I get the mud washed off, you're gonna see this is just a great landing, and this composite plastic wood is amazing to work with.
We celebrate for.
Here's a bird's eye view from the top of the deck. And there you go. Shuffle dancing platform ready to go.